Sarah? No Moroccan Children's Trust, no? Okay. Karen? Give us 1 second. If we don't do that, then we will. 2 minutes, okay. Well, I'm just to fill in, this is, if I were on the BBC, I'd know how to do this, but I don't. So, but one of the things they did want me to say tonight, and I didn't say it because I thought we'll go straight in, was that over the last year, we have raised, through your donations, £900,000 for a whole raft of social change charities. And we're now getting within reaching distance of the £6 million mark. And remember, this isn't big gifts. This is people who are giving £50, £100, £200, £500. People want to give more. We love that. We sometimes issue a wallet warning because people do get excited, sometimes overexcited, and we like that. But actually, I think that's wonderful, and it's a tribute not to us, but to all of you who have come and participated and given, and to the projects that have come and presented. Do we have Sarah now? Sarah, come and tell us what you've done over the last year. So Sarah Sibley.
Great. Thank you very much for inviting us back this year to get to share with you exciting project developments. As we discussed last January, the members of MCT in both the UK and Morocco became concerned by big changes happening in southern Moroccan society and their consequences for a generation of Moroccan children. With more and more families moving from rural areas to the towns, women and children face particular structural challenges. The problem of disenfranchised single mothers and the problem of identity papers. Last January, we proposed to work specifically with single female heads of household who are radically disempowered by their move to the town. How did your support help? We proposed to support the mothers by continuing participant-led weekly women's group meetings in a neutral space that serve as an information sharing and discussion forum, focusing on parenting, healthcare practices, and boosting the women's confidence. We have done this and just finished semi-structured personal interviews with each of the 17 group members to see how their involvement has impacted on desired outcomes of improved economic situation and living conditions, increased confidence, improved healthcare practices in the home, and promoting positive parenting practices. I'd like to share with you the story of one new women's group member, Khadija. Khadija started attending this past October when her younger son began attending our preschool. She moved to Townships from her Moroccan village in the mountains with her husband and children. Her first language is Tashahit, and she understands some Moroccan Arabic, but finds it particularly difficult to respond. She is currently undergoing divorce proceedings and has been separated from the rest of her children by her husband. Since joining the women's group, Khadijah's confidence has grown and she has started to open up. The women's group provides a safe space where she can speak in her first language with the other women and facilitator, allowing her to express herself much more freely. She has even learned some Arabic and would like to attend literacy lessons. Her son's participation in the preschool has doubly allowed her to find work in a hotel in order to support her family. With success also comes challenge. We had also proposed last January to support these women by offering them employment through a catering enterprise that the women themselves had begun to design at that stage. However, the surveys that we conducted did not indicate a high enough level of demand in the local market of Townships. Instead of launching this group catering project, we supported them in their own income-generating activities. For example, one woman used her initiative to start a project selling women's and children's clothes around Townships. Every day she carries 3 large bags of clothes to various buyers around the town. And currently, our center is assisting her to find a fixed stall on the street or in the souk, where she can sell her merchandise. She said, in her own words, the Women's Project provides her with a space where she can find a bit of calm. In 2014, MCT hopes to assist more women in the group to capitalize and build on their existing skills to develop individual income-generating activities or to gain stable employment elsewhere. In our second project, focusing on the problem of identity papers, last January, we proposed to secure a legal identity for those children who currently do not possess one. Not possessing ID papers in Morocco means that you're unable to continue secondary education, you're not allowed to access the public healthcare system, you're not legally entitled to work, or to access any statutory services at all. You are effectively a non-person, condemned to live in the shadows of society. So how did your support help? Following the letter issued by the Ministry of Education to all primary schools in the Terdant region, about the size of Belgium, asking the directors to notify our team at the center of children under their care who lack ID papers, we collected the case information from over 1,000 schools in the province. We organized a steering committee with relevant government representatives to assess regional ID paper case data from the past 5 years. All of this data collection with local actors is with the aim to map all the children in the province who lack ID papers and then to secure them. To do this, we opened a drop-in service, registration at birth, and a separate office to our current drop-in social center. 2 dedicated officers work to obtain ID papers for unregistered children and raise awareness amongst the regional community of the importance of birth registration. This team built up an extensive local and regional network of schools and organizations with which to organize trainings, activity days, and drop-in centers for advice. Thus far, 2 trainings and 4 awareness-raising events have been held. Photos were in that slideshow. The team used its maps of situation-specific bureaucratic procedures to secure ID papers for 17 children in the past 3 months. They've opened another 58 cases, 10 of which are sitting in the last processing stage of the tribunal. The team has implemented a robust monitoring structure to stay on track to publish a report next autumn, in which we can share our recorded work, so that it can be replicated across Morocco in other regions experiencing the exact same problem. These aren't complicated interventions, but they do need a thoughtful and careful approach and time to set them up. MCT is pleased with its progress thus far, but we have a lot of work ahead of us to kickstart change across Morocco. Thank you again for helping us to make profound change in a generation of children in Morocco. Please do get in touch if you'd like more detailed information or to learn more about our future plans for the year. Thank you again.
Thank you. And now I'm going to turn over to Pete Yo. Now we get into the real guts of the evening. And Pete is one of our, been a member here for a long time, and he's going to take us through the project presentation. So, Pete.
Thank you, Fred. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
So, our decisions around giving are often very complex and I think deeply personal. You should hopefully have seen and hopefully had a look at the 2 pages, either in advance of tonight's gathering or earlier on this evening. And these 2 pages can help you to get your heads around the projects that we'll be presenting tonight. The next stage of the evening is to allow you to try and get your hearts around those projects, if you like, to get a more intimate feel that will hopefully help you inform your giving, hopefully, later, if you so wish. How this is going to work, each of the 4 projects will have 6 minutes to pitch to you all, to tell their story, and that will be followed by 6 minutes of Q&A when you're free to, in true Dragon's Den style, fire questions at them. I know we're a lot more friendly than that. As some of you will have heard before, we do like to put the deemed into funding. So at 5 minutes, the 5-minute marker for both presentation and Q&A, you will hear that, which is basically a warning for the presenters and the people running the Q&A to kind of know that their time is almost up. I think we've got a couple of mics, Karen, is that right? Come to Q&A, roving mics, so hopefully everyone will be able to hear everything that is said. Dr. Paul Kelland will be running the most exciting part of the evening later, the coaching session. We'll probably want to explain how we put, more fully explain how we put the fun into funding as well, because we do both. So without further ado, let's move into the project presentations. And first of all, I'd like to ask Ikamva Labantu, which I believe means Future of Our Nation, a project from South Africa, who's they wanted to tell us about their community-based work programme that will provide, or is providing already, emotional, material and logistical support and advice to foster mothers living in townships around Cape Town. And to speak on their behalf, we have Simon Wheatley, who's a TFN trustee. Over to you, Simon.
Thanks, Pete. As Pete said, I'm Simon Wheatley. I'm a trustee of the Funding Network, and in October last year, Fred, Eugenie and I visited South Africa for the launch of TFN in Johannesburg and Cape Town. In Cape Town, my sister-in-law introduced us to her employer, Helen Lieberman, Ikamva Labantu. And Ikamva is doing lots of amazing things in the townships around Cape Town. But tonight I'm seeking your support for one particular aspect, which is their Orphans and Vulnerable Children programme. Effectively, for the cost of £30 a year, you can give life, love, support and hope to an orphan in the townships. By way of background, there's some photos here, for those of you who haven't been to South Africa, of what the townships look like. Around Cape Town, there are two townships, Khayelitsha and Gugulethu. The total population is 500,000 people. 50% of these people are unemployed. Between a third and a half of them are HIV positive. And in 2005, I don't have recent statistics, there was a murder every 10 hours. Ikamva was founded by Helen Lieberman. There's a photo of her hugging a child. She's 73 years old. She grew up at the peak of apartheid and in many ways shielded from the impact of apartheid on blacks. She trained as a speech therapist. Her first job was in a hospital that treated blacks and whites. The whites went in one entrance, the blacks in the other. The whites had the best drugs, the best doctors, the best hope. And the blacks had next to nothing. And Helen quickly saw that the black patients only came once, because the reason they came once was to see if there was any treatment. There wasn't, so they went home again and they never came back. Helen went to her white boss and said, look, why don't you just move the drugs and the doctors from one side of the hospital to the others, so we can actually treat these people. And her boss said, Helen, we're not here to heal them. We don't care if they live or die. Helen resigned the next day and took her first trip into the township. She spent the next 22 years effectively running Ikamva and helping people in the townships as much as she could from the boot of her car. Life changed for her in February 1985. There were the Crossroad riots. 8 people were shot dead by the police, and Helen was rioting on the side of the blacks, and pictures were being drawn around the world. One of the people watching them was Chancellor Helmut Kohl in Germany, and he said to his people in South Africa, find out who this woman is, what she does, and see if we can help her. And that legitimized Ikamva, and today Helen runs, in those days it wasn't legal for a white charity to help black people, so that legitimized Ikamva, and today Helen runs 3 flagship community centres, 2 in Khayelitsha and 1 in Gugulethu. These serve the townships in many, many ways. Health and Wellness Centre, you see some kids there with sparkling new glasses. They have eye tests. There are preschool nurseries, after-school computing classes, training for carers and teachers. But it's from these centres that Ikamva runs its most important and least well-funded programme for orphans and vulnerable children. And this is how it's structured. They have 20 CBWs, community-based workers. All of them are women, all of them live in the townships and are born in the townships. Each is responsible for 30 foster mothers, so that's a network of 600 foster mothers in all. The CBWs liaise with the police and everyone else to identify the orphans and then place them with appropriate foster mothers. When we were there, Fred, Eugenie and I visited 3 foster mothers accompanied by 2 CBWs. One woman was living in a shack about the size of a shipping container. She was fostering 12 children, 3 of whom were HIV positive. And the CBWs monitor the children once they're placed with the foster mothers for health, education, their educational behaviour, the treatment at school, the performance at school. Many of the foster mothers are illiterate, so the CBWs help the women to navigate the social security system. Another mother we met had 3 foster children, one of whom had seen her father strangle her mother to death. I asked Helen to provide me with a kind of snapshot of an ideal foster mother, and she came up with Mama S, and I'll try and explain this profile. Mama S is 64 years old. She's fostered hundreds of children for Ikamva since 1990. She presently fosters 10 children in the townships. She became a foster mother after her own twins both died and her husband left her. Mama S would not do anything other than care for vulnerable children. She says, the ones that have left my home always come back to visit, and I love seeing them. Many have gone on to university and have good jobs. She went on to say, we need people to see what we do, how hard we work. People think we're lazy, but what we do is necessary, it's essential, because we save lives. We provide children with the love that they need and should get. Each CBW costs Ikamva £3,000 a year. That covers wages, pensions, the use of a car, and the use of a cell phone. Each CBW, through this network of foster mothers, can cover at least 100 orphans and vulnerable children. That's £30 a year for each orphan. That's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. The entire CBW program costs £60,000 a year, and for that, Helen can employ 20 amazing CBWs. These children need our help, and for £30 a year, I don't think that's much to ask.